lots of obstacles I had to overcome, especially all of my head trash. And what got me through that every day was my vision was bigger. What I wanted for me and my family was bigger than whatever obstacle I was facing. Okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is it that I really want to leave here as a legacy for my family and for other people? And that's the driving factor for me now.
All right, welcome everyone to another episode of the Build Stuff Be Kind podcast. Today we have a very special guest, a speaker, author, fellow podcast host, Carey Conley, doing some incredible things in the vision and coaching and mental health space. We met recently and excited to really explore with you what you're up to, what you're building. Thank you for joining us here today.
Thanks for having me, Sean.
Yeah, excited.
Yeah, very fun. Yes.
Fellow Arizonan as well. Live here.
You know, I'd love to claim that, but I'm actually originally from Colorado.
There you go.
I've only been here off and on for about 7 years.
Okay.
Almost 10 years, actually.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, glad that we can have you in the studio today, because it's always, great to have the ability to do remote, but having someone here in the hot seat is also
it is more
a pleasure.
Fun. I love it when I have people live as well.
Yeah.
Just a different energy.
It is.
Yeah.
You can connect in a different way, and I think what you're all about is connection and vision, and I'd love to start with, what is it about vision? Like, what is it about you, your journey, that like that word vision really is that first thing that comes to mind for you, and what you're doing, what you're building, what you're creating?
Well, it's kind of a story. So when I was in my late 20s, which was a very long time ago, I was doing what we were all told to do. Get the college degree, get the job, and, just work your way up the ranks kind of thing, because this is what you did. And this was the 80s, right? And my husband and all of our friends were doing that really well. I was changing jobs every 2 years because I couldn't find the right job. And job number 3, I think it was, they hired a woman to come in for like a staff development day. And I just remember watching her, Sean, and thinking, wow, that is so awesome. She was so inspiring. And so I asked her if I could take her to lunch and pick her brain a little bit.
Yeah.
And so I was telling her, I can't figure out this 9-to-5 thing. Like, I can't find the right job that suits what I want. And she was the very first person that said to me something I've never forgotten. She said, Carey, you can create your life to look however you want it to be. You just have to get really clear on what that is. And so she encouraged me to, write it all out. Sean, what do I want? What do I want my life to look like? What do I want my marriage to look like? Our family life, our finances, where we were living, how we spent our time. I wrote a lot about the kind of mom I wanted to be, because I knew we were going to start a family soon. And the fact that I wanted to work from home and be my own boss, not knowing what I was going to do. I just knew what I wanted.
Yeah.
And I still have all those pieces of paper because what happened that day was something that I now know, that now I know what was happening, then I did not, is that I feel like God and I were collaborating that day. And because I was so quiet.
I love that.
Yeah. I was so still that day, Sean, that it was just flowing out of me. Right. And on the last line of one of the pieces of paper where I'd written, some ideas about being an entrepreneur. I didn't know what I was going to do, but, I wrote things like, I want to be able to work from home, make residual income, maybe earn some trips, be in a company where there was strong leadership, maybe in skincare, maybe in health and wellness, question mark, question mark, question mark.
Yeah.
But on the last line, I wrote that someday I wanted to teach other people the importance of having a written vision for their life, not knowing where that was going to go and where that came from. And because I got so clear that day, things started falling into place, right? And what happened is, we'd fast forward a couple of years, I'd had my son, and I was 5 months pregnant with my daughter, and I was still working full time and hating it.
Wow.
So I then got introduced to the industry of network marketing when I was 5 months pregnant. A company called Arbonne, most people are familiar with. And it was like lightning bolts, right? Because it checked all the boxes about what I'd written and what I wanted. I manifested it, right? So So I ended up getting really, really passionate about this vision writing thing. And when I started bringing in a bunch of leaders into my team, I had to teach them how to write their vision because I knew if they didn't have one, they were going to quit.
Yeah.
So the vision is what got me through launching that business, getting to the top of the company, balancing my time with my kids. It's become my guidepost and everything, which is why I started teaching it so long ago. Right?
What have you found when you're working with people? What are some of the misconceptions about creating a vision?
A lot of people, first of all, are afraid to sit down and write it because they don't see the how. When I do workshops, live workshops, which I've done in front of thousands of people now, and I love that energy, right? I will ask them, how many of you in the room have to know the how before you'll write the vision? Of course, most of them do. And I have to teach them first and foremost, you've got to write the vision and the how will show up like it did for me.
Yeah.
Second thing that usually pops up for people is that they are afraid of writing down their big dreams and goals because circumstantially right now where they're at in their life, they can't see possibly how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
Right. And then of course, all the head trash. I'm not worthy. Who am I? Imposter syndrome, big time, especially in my industry. So many walls.
Yeah.
But what got me through all of that, and I had all of that, when I stepped into network marketing, especially in the 80s, yeah, my family and friends were like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Yeah. Lots of obstacles I had to overcome, especially all of my head trash. And what got me through that every day was my vision was bigger. What I wanted for me and my family was bigger than whatever obstacle I was facing. And it's gotten me through a lot of adversity in my life as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that term, head trash.
Yeah.
I think that's
Yeah.
so appropriate and real, and we all have a form of it.
Yes.
And working through that, I think is where we can really find that vision. I know when you describe that collaboration with God, I think is such another really like vivid example, because I know when I have found myself in that flow and really like getting clear on vision and getting clear on like what am I committed to actually doing, it does feel like that. It just feels like there is this like intuition and connection and inspiration that is unlocked when you can really commit and get focused in on what am I actually trying to accomplish and create, and what type of impact am I looking to make in my life and in the lives of others, and I think that's powerful.
Yeah. Well, it's, the common denominator we all have as humans is one thing. And that common denominator I have found is that we all want to know that we're making a difference while we're here. At the end of the day, once you've got, a roof over your head, food on the table, you're not worried so much about, the money coming in, although that's a huge concern for a lot of people, especially the young adults that I'm starting to work with. It becomes around, okay, why am I doing what I'm doing? What is it that I really want to leave here as a legacy for my family and for other people? And that's the driving factor for me now. In the beginning, like I said, when I started in network marketing, it was to be able to stay home, put our kids through private schooling, which we wanted to do, do all the travel we wanted to do. Now it's more of a mission because so many people are living without vision, and people without vision drift really easily. And right now we've got this huge epidemic happening of a lot of depression, anxiety. Unfortunately, I've lost both my husband and my son to suicide. So it's,
Sorry.
Yeah, thank you. So this is big.
Yeah.
This is why it becomes more than just saying, okay, I have a vision that I want to, have a race car in the next 3 years or whatever it is.
Yeah.
It's way beyond that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Why do you think that is, that in this day and age, there's less clarity on vision, or do you think we're outsourcing it more? Do you think we're disconnecting from it? Are we less confident in ourselves? Like,
Yeah.
do you have any sort of diagnosis of
Absolutely.
what's causing that?
Well, number one, we don't teach it to our kids. I mean,
Yeah.
we just don't. It's
Yeah.
not being taught in schools yet, although that's starting to change. I'm a part of a couple of organizations that have created some curriculum they're now bringing into the schools to teach
cool.
kids about following their own path, knowing they have a purpose, knowing they matter.
Yeah.
The younger we can start them on that path, the better.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there are statistics now around suicide in 5 to 9-year-olds. So,
Oh my gosh.
we've got a battle happening here. So, we just don't. We've got a system that still teaches. Okay, so that's really cute. I wanted to be a singer and an actress growing up. So my
Still
family.
time.
What's that?
There's still time.
There's still time.
Yeah.
My family, of course, thought that was really cute. They came to all the little variety shows in school that I sang in. But the message was that this is great, but you're going to go get a college degree so that you can get the right job, right, and provide for your family. And so this is still the system we've got now, right? So we take our little kiddos. I have 2 grandsons now, 1 and a 4-year-old. They are so authentically in their real personalities right now, Sean.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, and what's going to be a part of his life, unfortunately, is going through schooling, although lots of alternatives are happening around that now. But we start teaching them early that this is the way the world works. And we want you to know that we think you should go in this direction. And that will secure you for life, right?
Totally. I've got a 2 and a 4-year-old, and I catch myself like the other day. We were going on a bike ride, and my son was adamant about not putting a shirt on.
Yeah.
And it was like I battling, and it was cold out, and I was like, But then we had this whole just like fight, basically. Like, you're putting a shirt. Like, if you want to go on this bike ride, you're putting a shirt on.
Yeah.
And it just as I reflected on it, I was like, why not just let him not like he'll get cold. I'll bring a shirt. He's gonna want to put it on, but it's like even just little things where you kind of are just like knowing what's best for them.
Yeah.
And probably not being cold is good for him, but also letting him learn on his own.
Yeah.
And it's like that battle of like knowing what's good for him versus letting him kind of
figure it out.
Right. Be like, okay, next time I'm gonna do it myself. I'm gonna grab my sweater if it's cold out.
Right. Yeah. So what's happening now is, so I'm very, very focused, as you know, of wanting to start to work with young adults, early 20s to early 30s. I feel like this is a very challenging time for them. And most of them, because I talk to them a lot, tell me they feel that they are under a lot of pressure early on in life. They are not happy with the job that they went into out of college being told this was going to be, they get out.
You have this piece of paper and you're going to be set.
They get out, they get the job, and 6 months to a year out, they're looking around going, this is it? Like, I don't really like this. I don't know what to do about that.
Got debt to pay off. And
yes, huge amount of pressure around money. Huge.
Yeah.
And this is what really breaks my heart is I have a 22-year-old intern that now works in my podcast studio. And I was talking to him one day in between interviews about his life, how he was feeling about his life. And he was telling me, well, it's definitely a lot of pressure. But he said 2 things I've never forgotten, Sean. He said, I feel like I'm already behind. He's 22. I looked at him, I said, you feel like you're already behind? He said, yes. And this has a lot to do with social media. He said, I see people making it look like I should be a millionaire by now. He said, I don't even really know he's never thought about a vision for his own life.
Yeah.
And the other thing he said to me, and I actually interviewed him on my podcast because of him saying this. He said, I feel like I'm starting my adult life in a hostile environment. And I think that has to do a lot to do, unfortunately, with all the discourse that's happening in our world. And it's just I remember coming out of college, Sean, I was 22, getting married. We started our jobs. We loved it. We were having a ball.
Totally.
Yeah. It's not that we didn't feel the pressure too, but not to this degree.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's just so many things are stacked, and cost of living and housing and food, like there's just so much weight on people.
Right.
Plus, you can see everyone's perfect life curated on social media and think, well, man, what's wrong with me?
Yeah.
if I'm not there
Yeah.
already.
And like me, when I was in my late 20s going, what? Because when I was changing jobs every 2 years, all of our friends were saying, why can't you figure this out and just stick with the job? I really thought there was something wrong with me, you know? Um, so I just, I'm so passionate about this age group right now because, again, when I talk to a lot of them, especially the males in this age group, tell me their mind goes into some really dark places, right? And they just don't know how to get out of it until somebody can reach into them and say, you know what? I know this looks like there's no hope, but I want to just give you something to think about for that light at the end of the tunnel. So when I get people to think about their vision, I specifically ask them to think about 3 years out and, figure out, okay, what's the date 3 years from now? And then how old will you be on that day? How old will your family members be? Because time and aging is non-negotiable, right?
So
and then I
true.
get them to start thinking about, okay, so if you're going to be, so I was talking to one of these young men the other night. He heard my podcast and reached out to me and said, I need to talk to you.
That's awesome.
And he's going to be 31. And he got on the phone with me and said, I just can't even believe how old I'm going to be in 3 years. And I said to him, okay, so I just want you to think about what you want your life to look like.
Yeah.
What do you want to be doing? How do you want to be spending your time? Who do you want to be spending it with? That's another big thing, is relationships. Building healthy relationships is another challenge. What are you doing for a living? How are you financing the lifestyle that you want? Because he wants to start his own business, but he's scared to death to make that leap. And I said, okay, well, if we can just create the vision of what you want, then we can reverse engineer the game plan. And you can start thinking about, okay, where are you going to be in a year, 6 months, all the way down to, can you just take some little baby steps every day towards that vision, towards that direction?
Yeah.
Right? Because
Totally.
Yeah.
What do you think? I mean, I think that's such a powerful of really those baby steps and those. How can people who like don't necessarily know what their vision is or are like feel like they're behind or feeling all this weight, like what are ways that they can like just start? Is it good to just write it out or like find one thing that you like where's a good kind of tactical way or practical way for people to just like take that first step?
So the first thing is you got to write it out, and that's the thing everybody avoids until I make them do it. Which is why people come to my workshops and my events that I do and coaching that I bring people into. Is the very first thing is they've got to write that 3-year vision for me, because without that we don't have a starting point. Just like you and I are having a conversation a few minutes ago before we started recording, what my big vision is 3 years from now, right? Nobody gets them to do this unless you just literally get into a community like I'm building that will hold you accountable to it.
Totally.
And so after you write the vision, so I'm going to use my best friend as an example. She was one of the very first people that I coached. When I started teaching this, she had come out of college and gone to work in the hotel industry and did really, really well. When we started working together, she was one of the VPs for Hilton. So she had a great career. But she was traveling 32 weeks out of the year and really wanted to be home more. But didn't know what she was going to do. No clue. She'd been on that track for so long. So I just had her write out the vision. Tell me the life you want right now. She wanted to move back home. She wanted the flexibility to take care of her parents that were getting older. She wanted more times with her brothers and her nieces and nephews and all that. She just wanted the flexibility. And so I asked her, can you give me just a couple of ideas, just like I wrote out, of things that kind of interest you, that might fit that lifestyle? And one of the things she had written was she had thought about going into real estate. And I said, okay. She said, but I don't know where to start with that. I said, do you know a realtor in your city? And she said, of course. I said, can you just call her up, ask her to go to lunch and pick her brain about how she does what she does? It was just one little baby step. That started the ball rolling, right? And that's what I mean by, can you just investigate, just get down what you want and the hows will show up like it did for me.
I think that's such a powerful, just listing those things out and just starting with that. There's something about creating that list and all of a sudden you just see like all the things just start to show up of why, like, oh, there's that, and there's this, and like,
Yeah.
oh, it like tuned you into the frequency of like, oh, there's a path
Right.
that could get me closer to that thing,
Right.
where all those things are coming into our lives before getting clarity.
Right.
We just don't notice them. We don't see them. We don't take advantage of them.
Yeah. And, you know, the other big fear a lot of people have, especially young adults and even high school. I did a workshop in high school last spring. Is everybody's so afraid to go down a path, and if it turns out to be the wrong path, or they fail at it, or they don't like it, people freeze up in panic about that and won't take any step in any direction at all.
Yeah.
And so I was just here, and these high schoolers were saying, you know, what if I go down this path and I have to change directions? And I said, guys, I'm almost 62 years old and I'm still
get used to it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. But every piece of it, even if you feel like it was a wrong path, it was not a wrong path.
No.
You learned from that.
Everything stacks up.
Right. Like my 25 years in network marketing prepared me for what I'm doing now. Right.
Yeah.
So it all builds on top of each other. And yes, when you are vibrating at that level of wanting to evolve, if things just show up, like you and I meeting.
Yeah.
We've known each other less than a week, and here we are already talking about, okay, how can we collaborate?
Totally.
There's no accident why we met.
100%.
Right.
It's so real when you're clear about that intention and clear about that vision. Talk about vision. What other soft skills do you think that these young adults should be thinking about developing that we're maybe also not being, I think part of this show and really the emphasis is like those core values, the soft skills. It's kind of the things that, especially in like the corporate business world, have been maybe looked down on, or like you got to be, you know, very technical and have all these like hard skills, where in my opinion we're really, I think soft skills have always mattered, but I think even more so as we kind of evolve into this world of AI and technology and things. What are some soft skills that you're seeing in successful young adults, or young adults that are really struggling or trying to accomplish the things that developing, you know, these soft skills will benefit them, just like setting a vision, in my opinion, is a soft skill, like understanding how to do it.
Yeah.
Are there other soft skills in your mind that people could work on or put more value into?
They need to know how to communicate, not through technology like this.
Yeah.
Right? Face to face in a group. I remember when my son graduated from college, we moved from Colorado to Arizona because he was starting his job at Channel 12 here. And what happens when they come out of college, they've had this built community all along their lives, right? They've had their schools, they've had their sports.
Yep.
Then they go into college or in organizations there. Then they all graduate and they all go different places.
Totally.
And so when he got here, he didn't know anybody at his age, especially. And I literally remember teaching him how to get on like meetup.com and look for groups that have similar interests, right? Like my son played tennis competitively. And so because he just needed to meet some people his own age instead of in the bars, right?
Yeah.
So I think it always inspires me when I see a young adult that can talk to me. Like, talk to me. Ask me questions. Tell me about them.
Yeah.
I mean, that is a skill that we have lost. And it's
So
why they're the loneliest generation we have right now.
Yeah.
They're very isolated. So they need to learn to talk, and they need to learn to ask for what they need. Our friend David Meltzer is really big about that.
Yeah.
Don't be afraid to ask. What do you need help with?
Yeah. I'm
a
recovering, not good at asking.
I could do it all by
help,
myself.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's so true. It's such a empowering thing to ask for help and to be receptive to help, because we all, like, of course we need help.
Yeah.
Like, you can't do it all. You can't do everything. You need that team around. You need good friends. You need allies to help you, you know, when things are hard and when things are good. You know, it's that balance.
Another soft skill that I teach a lot inside the workshop that I do and when I do coaching is boundaries, is how to put boundaries around your time, your money, and the people you spend it with. And most especially, it's the people you spend it with. I do a lot of coaching on that because that's hard.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times the people they have in their life have been there for a really long time.
Yep.
They may even be related to you. It still doesn't mean it's a healthy relationship.
Yeah.
And the most important thing, one of the most important aspects to all the success that I've had in my personal life and my professional life is the power of the associations that I put around me. The people have made all the difference.
Yeah.
All the difference. And that's huge for them to understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is, I think, such a powerful skill and something that I think we're all, I believe we all at our core are seeking two basic things, which is experience and belonging. And that's like every business that I've built, everything that I do is like how to help people have better experiences or experiences, create experiences, and how to find a sense of belonging, how to find their community, how to connect with people, because I think that's, to me, what people are looking for. And I think it's this interesting, I'm religious. I come from a religious background. My family, grew up in a religion. And I think there's this interesting, like, evolution of brands becoming religions in a way. Like we're like,
this is so true,
ascribing community and values and principles and all these things that for centuries we ascribe to religion. We're now like, it's just an innate thing. Like we want to find and align with values that we align with, and we want to be a part of something bigger than ourselves, and we want to like be a part of a community and have guiding principles. And I think more and more brands are kind of filling that gap, but it isn't a bad thing. I think, especially if it's a brand who's doing meaningful things, but it's just it's an interesting, like, evolution of kind of the state of human nature and what we're connecting with. And so I think really thinking about your business, your brand, and finding ways to really lead by principles and values and core, ideas that help create bonds and create connection with people.
Well, I have to tell you, so when you step into an industry, like I was in network marketing, I stepped into a already built community. And it was everything, because I was going through a lot of learning curves.
Yeah.
How do you run a business? How do you do the activities you need to do? Most of it was getting through the evolution of the mindset, right? I couldn't, two things got me to the top: my vision and my drive and my why. And the people I had around me telling me, yeah, you're not going down today.
Yeah.
Because there were so many days I wanted to quit, Sean.
Yep.
So many days. And the reason I didn't was because I had a team of people that were already a little bit further ahead than I was, going, you got this. Don't you quit on me. Not happening.
Yeah.
So when I stepped in creating my own business around speaking and coaching, I realized I didn't have that. And I really missed it. So I had to go find those people and build my own alliances with them. And now building my own community. It's everything.
Yeah.
You've got to be around the people that believe in you. They know your vision. They may not understand it, but they're going to cheer you on.
Yep.
And they're going to help you get there.
Yeah. That's powerful.
Yeah.
People, connection. We need more of that. We need more of the relationships, I think, are such an important thing, because it's one thing to be a part of a community or feel a part of something greater than yourself, but you have to lean in even further and really create a connection, a relationship. You don't have to have dozens, but have those core relationships that can really help you.
Quantity doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It's the richness of the relationships that you have. And those involve too.
Yeah.
I do an exercise with people called the front row. And basically what I teach people is to make sure that, it's like a visual exercise. I get people to imagine they're standing on a stage and they're looking out into rows of seats, and there's about 5 to 10 seats in each row. The only people who should be in the front row of your life should be the 9s and 10s. The 9s and 10s are the people that lift you up, believe in you, help you get to the next step. And sometimes there are people in that front row that shouldn't be there. So we have to kind of move them to the back.
Yep.
And there are great ways to do that.
Mhm.
And a lot of times people say to me, well, I don't have enough people in that front row. And so I teach them how to go find those people, ask for help, put them there, let them know they're in your front row.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. And so it
That's
evolves. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes somebody's there just for a season
Mhm.
and then somebody else slides in.
Yeah. I think that's such an important thing, letting them know,
Yeah.
like, you are important to me.
Mhm.
You are in this position.
Right.
And it doesn't mean like, hey, you've got to do something for me. It's just like, that's,
Right.
letting them know the importance that they play in your life or your business or what you're trying to create, I think is important. Simon Sinek has been talking a lot recently about this idea of like him and his friends have this thing where it's like, I need 8 minutes. Like they'll
I
text their
saw
friends
that.
and like,
Yeah.
like it's like in 8 minutes of like real connection with someone can like drastically, I'm sure on like a scientific level or something, they've figured out that that's the time. But just that 8 minutes with someone that actually is listening and present and connecting with you can be such a big difference.
That's so funny that you said that. That's the third time I've heard that now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's cool. I love his books and his way of thinking and creating, and he just has this approach that I really connect with. When you have challenging things that you're facing, what are some of the core values that really help you push through those challenging times?
My family, very, very rooted in my connection to them. I live here in Arizona. My daughter lives in Oklahoma City, and I have an apartment there so that I can go back there and like I'm going this weekend just because I need to see them.
Yeah.
That grounds me a lot. On the days that are super challenging, I will go to the people who believe in my vision and are a big part of it. And they're the ones who remind me, okay, it's just a day. It's just a moment.
Yep.
I also am very rooted in my faith. So I do a lot of reading devotions, journaling.
Cool.
Taking myself on retreats.
Yeah.
When I really need a break, I go to the beach.
Something about
Gotta
the
go
beach.
gotta go to your happy place.
Yeah.
And you just have to let people know what's going on.
Yeah.
We just can't be hiding all the time. You've got to be so transparent. And if you're having a bad day, somebody needs to know it.
Yeah.
Just let somebody know. And in 8 minutes may be all you need.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like, I don't know what it is about, I think, entrepreneur life, and maybe it's something to do with male masculinity and all sorts of things. It's like, I catch myself, it's like, oh, I'm having things are hard or struggling. It's like, all right, I gotta go more isolated and more on my own, and I gotta figure this out. I gotta put this on my, and it's the exact opposite of what I actually need. And
So
like
true.
like this week I'm gonna go out to dinner with some friends, and it's like we've been talking about it for weeks, and it's like got to commit to creating that time. And I've got kids, and my wife works evenings. She's actually a tennis coach. And it's just like, so the schedule is busy, but it's like I've got to prioritize that time and like those relationships and those connections.
You do, especially men.
Yeah. I think it's so powerful to really have those core values to guide you in those times of challenging, but also in positive times. It's like when we can have the clarity of core values, of vision, it really cuts through all of the things that come up and really help us always evolve and grow and level up.
Right.
We have a question we ask every guest on the show, and we can go in depth about this. We can cover it however it takes us, but it's kind of what this whole show is about, and where this conversation always leads us. And I'm always fascinated by the responses. But for you, Carey, what role has kindness played in building your success?
I think we learned a lot of this. My daughter and I, after we lost my husband and then my son, so many things we learned. And we authored a book together, like I mentioned earlier, called Keep Looking Up. And in the book, we talk about the story, but really the book was 11 chapters of what we learned in the journey.
Wow.
Because what was happening, because we were so public with our story, is so many people were coming forward to us saying, how in the world are you getting through this? And how can I help somebody else going through this? And the biggest thing that was a wake up for us was the people that we thought were going to be there for us for the long haul, not so much. And the most unlikely people just stuck in with us, still stick with us. And they've given us a lot of grace and mercy. And that, I think, is the highest act of kindness, is that when you can come up alongside somebody and no matter how they're dealing with something and still be there for them, right?
Yeah.
Not judge them, make them feel bad, not push your advice on them, but just help them get through this moment with a lot of compassion.
Yeah, holding space for people. It's man, that is powerful. Just thinking of examples of, fortunately, I've had very few tragic things, but I have a lot of friends who've had tragic things. One of my best friends lost his daughter, and just the challenges of that and the community that rallied around them, but also the way they have just grown, and it's fascinating to see their growth through such a devastating loss and challenge. And I think it is those people who really can step up and just be there, not have an agenda. Because you also, I saw people that had their, I think with good intention, but an agenda all the less. And I think that's so important, is just like no agenda and just being there for people.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, I think that's your story and the worlds that you have created and the people you've already impacted, and you can just tell the nature that you kind of carry with you as you interact with people. Like, we met in a chaotic networking event, and you just like there's this grounding that I sensed immediately in talking with you. And I think that also is I'm sure a very impactful way that you show up for people, is being grounded to help them through challenging times or evolve their lives or businesses or whatever it is that they're creating.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your story. Thank you for coming in and joining us on the podcast. Like, I think there's many, like we could probably go on for hours and hours about all of these things, and I'm sure we will over the next decade of what we're going to create together, and things that we will do going forward. I'm excited for your journey and path. Where can people find out about you? What's the best place for people to connect?
The thing that I love to do is give a free gift to the guests listening to your show. So the first book I wrote is actually a workbook, and it's called Vision is Victory. And it literally is a book that people can download, and it'll walk you through the process of writing your vision, figuring out where you're getting stuck. So I'm going to give you a link to that, so you can put it in your show notes. But people can also text and get it. Cool. So if they text the word victory, all in caps, to 26786, they'll get a free download of that book. And then what happens is they land in my email newsletter list, so they can find all the places of everything I'm doing.
That's amazing. That's so awesome. I'm excited. I'm gonna get that link and check it out myself. I think it's so cool what you're building. Really, really excited. You're going to be joining us at Founders Flow, running a workshop on vision, which is going to be incredible. I'm excited for that, and then all sorts of fun things that you're going to be announcing, as you roll out some evolutions of what you're building, which I'm
Right.
also
Thank
excited
you.
for.
Thanks for helping me make that impact and giving me a voice here today.
You bet. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode. Please subscribe, leave a comment, let us know what you will take away from this episode. We really appreciate you tuning in and being a part of this journey. Thank you again for being here, Carey, and thank you all. We'll see you next time.